Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing very well because I'm not. The time has finally come to review the most anticipated film of the entire year and I cannot wait to get into it. Just note that this is a non-spoiler review, so there'll be absolutely no spoilers here to be seen. We're just going to be talking about the film overall and what it does well, things that it could improve on. You guys can definitely look forward to a spoiler review of the film coming up real soon, but for the meantime, there will be no spoilers here. Okay, so now that I've gotten out that disclaimer, I finally got a chance to see Avengers Endgame. Let's talk about it. Avengers Endgame is directed by Joe and Anthony Russo, who also directed Captain America the Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, and Infinity War from last year. So like I said, this is the most anticipated film of 2019 because it finally wraps up the Infinity War saga. This storyline that has stretched on for 2 films now and has been dotted throughout the entirety of the MCU has built up so much hype. And everyone was wondering if it's even remotely possible for this film to live up to the hype that it has built up. And I'm here to tell you that not only is it possible, but it has been accomplished. This film is absolutely phenomenal. Now let's talk about exactly what it is that I absolutely loved about this film, because I think it is leaps and bounds beyond all the comic book movies that we have seen as of late. So first off, let's talk about the story. So the setup is after the snapping that happened in Infinity War, spoilers for Infinity War if you haven't seen it yet, we now have our heroes facing the consequences of what happened and the consequences of having 50% of the entirety of the population of the universe being wiped out. One of my main criticisms about Infinity War was that the story didn't really have a lot of character dimension, a lot of character work inside of it. It was very much a breadth rather than depth storyline because there were so many characters to juggle in that film. And so I felt like there were characters who were shorthanded and didn't really get their due. This is a complete 180 turn, but I did predict that because the snapping happened and the cast was significantly reduced as well as the rest of the universe's population, it meant that we could really focus and hone in on the original Avengers that were left behind. And I was completely right, because this script definitely has beefier character work in it. Stephen McFeely and Christopher Marcus did an incredible job here, because not only did every single Avenger get a chance to shine in the aftermath of Infinity War, but they also have immense character fulfillment for all of the moments leading up to this one. This screenplay is jam-packed with scene after scene of emotional, exhilarating, heart-wrenching moments. The end result is astonishingly beautiful, tying up loose ends from previous entries and providing us with satisfying endings to character arcs that we have been invested in so thoroughly for the last 11 years. In my opinion, the structure of the film is divided into 2 parts. The first part of the film very much deals with the snapping and its consequences and how our characters are dealing with that. And the second part deals with what they're going to do about it. And I would say that the split is roughly maybe 35 to 65, but every single moment in this film is used wisely. The runtime is not felt, it doesn't feel heavy, it doesn't feel like a burden. It's very much all purposeful. Every single scene has an impact and you never feel bored throughout the film. And I am so sorry, if you want to take a toilet break during this film, you're gonna have to be super quick, because every single moment counts. And there's no way that I can talk about the incredible story that we have here without mentioning the characters themselves. These actors gave the performances of their lifetimes. It was so incredible to see each and every one of them delve into the psyche of these characters, who they were, who they've become. Everything is explored here. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner and Karen Gillan give amazing dramatic performances throughout this film that really touch you to your soul. It is undeniable that the connection that this cast has truly grown throughout the films, and they definitely gave it 1000% in the performances here. You have amazing comedic performances from Chris Hemsworth, Paul Rudd and Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, and I think it all comes together to create such a big, beautiful family of these superheroes who are going through the hardest of times because they finally found a feat that they could not overcome, and they are dealing with the consequences of this. I even found Captain Marvel to be a much more compelling version of herself in this film rather than in her own film. Something about the way that the Russo brothers depicted this character just makes her so much more likable, so much more relatable. She's serious and she definitely doesn't compromise any of her powers or the lessons that she's learnt in her origin story, but you can see the character development somehow, even though this was shot before Captain Marvel, so it's incredible. You can see how the character has actually evolved and turned into more of a responsible professional rather than just a fledgling. And I think it does the character great justice here when she is interacting with these other characters who again have been connected for so long now. She seems to fit right in. I also want to give a shout out to Bradley Cooper and Sean Gunn, who collectively create Rocket, and he is absolutely amazing this. I was super excited to see Rocket and Nebula join the Avengers because I think they just breathed in some new life into the team and they worked so well within it. They're different enough to stand out, but they all have this similar goal and the similar purpose that really brings them together. Outside of the characters themselves, this film still feels very much like the culmination of 11 years worth of storytelling, including through the music itself. They definitely make use of the Avengers theme and it becomes a tearjerker within minutes. You realize that this theme, that is so underrated by the way, it means and it stands for so much at this point, and it has such a depth to it that you really come to appreciate. I mean, this is with everything in this story basically, is that every single layer that they've added to this story we are able to appreciate on so many levels because of just how extensive the lore has become. And I think the music echoes this when you're able to recognize the Guardians theme, the Avengers theme, Captain America's theme, Iron Man's theme. It really does allow you to appreciate just how amazing it is to see all of these worlds come together. Also, no expense was spared on the CG here. I know that Infinity War and Endgame combined cost what, $500 million to make, and you can really tell even in characters like Captain Marvel, who I commented on in her review. The CG was a bit shaky, looked a bit video gamey. She didn't look like a real tangible human being. Here it's very much more refined. It looks more realistic. You can really tell that a lot more love, effort and time has been put into the actualization of her powers and that of other characters as well. This film is definitely like 80% CG, as you can imagine, but they've done it very, very well. It's only shaky at parts, but overall, I think it's just money well spent, and it truly makes a huge difference when you're looking at particular characters who are very CG based. You definitely see the difference in the artwork and the quality. I talked about all of the good stuff in this film. Do I have any criticisms? Honestly, if I was going to pick a few things, firstly, the film does have some character inconsistencies inside of it. Now, I already mentioned in my Things I Hate About Infinity War video that there are character developments that don't quite make sense within the context of the MCU, and I feel like this film actually fixes a lot of that, but there are a few that kind of slip through the cracks and I think haven't really solved that issue. And second thing is that this film feels very, very different to Infinity War. And I don't know if I'm crazy in thinking this, but you could have told me that there was a whole new creative team behind Endgame to Infinity War, and I would completely believe that, because it feels so much more grounded and sincere. And of course it's due to the story itself. You know, half of the population of the universe has been snapped out of existence. Makes sense that people aren't really uplifted in that moment, but the whole film, because it's dealing with the weight of 11 years of storytelling, it definitely feels like it's taking every single character, every single plot point, storyline, character arc very seriously. It wants to do it justice. you see this through the actors' performances, you see this through the way that the story is told, and you see this through the amazing fan service moments that just make you tear up and get you so excited. This film does not take its task lightly, and that is why I think it's very different to Infinity War, in that Infinity War is very much setting up the Infinity War and the climax to the Infinity Saga. But Endgame is very much the culmination of 11 years worth of storytelling in the 22 films. And I think it makes a marked difference in just the tone that it has. It's still a very funny film. It still has some typical MCU-isms, but it's just something about it that feels more weighted and more grounded and just more sincere. And I think that's what really makes it stand apart from Infinity War, and at times make it unrecognizable to Infinity War even. But that is not a critique at all, that's just like an observation. But guys, this film is truly a masterclass in blockbuster movie making, and in my opinion, movie making in general. It is an incredible accomplishment that the Russos have been able to fulfill here. And while Tony Stark may have had visions about Infinity War happening, I definitely think that it was Kevin Feige's vision that allowed us to go through this incredible journey within the franchise. And yes, this chapter of the MCU has come to a close in the most satisfying way possible, leaving us wistfully looking back and hopefully moving forward. I'm going to give Avengers Endgame, of course, a 10 out of 10. So that is it from me for this non-spoiler review. Now that I've told you guys what my thoughts are on Avengers Endgame, it's time for you guys to let me know what you thought down in the comments below. There will of course be a spoiler review coming up so we can discuss exactly what goes on in this film. So please be sure to subscribe to my channel so you can catch that video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!